Hello Madcappers! Today I'm going to show you how to make a really super easy but super fun little hat. And it's got a bit of hair on the top and it makes doing all those chores in the winter a little bit more fun. But whoops, he got stuck, but he's still smiling. So we'll brighten up your winter with this fun hat. But before we get started, I want to thank our Rosie contest entries. There were over 200 of you, and Rena Wallace of Ohio, USA was our lucky winner. So how would you like a Cricut Easy Press Mini? That's our new contest. Leave a comment below in this video, or for the next two in the series of fun winter hats, and we will draw a winner from the comments at the end of February 2024. But you'll love this hat. If you missed the contest, subscribe to the channel. We'll have lots more. So I'm using this single piece as my pattern piece, and I'm going to cut the fleece. On that long edge is the stretch, so the stretch is going around my head, and the depth of my piece is about 6.5 inches or 17.5 centimeters. And my head circumference is 22.5 inches or 57.5 centimeters. So you want to measure your head, and my little diagram, my little picture there on my pattern piece shows you how to do that, just above your ears, just above your eyebrows, around your head. And fleece is stretchy, so you've got lots of leeway there, and that's what the hat will look like if you use two different colors. I used a solid for my band or my cuff, and it's folded in half, and the top is a single layer, and I'm using a print. This one for my hubby, I added a few little strands of hair at the top to make it extra fun. And this one, I cut my top piece in two and used two different colors and joined them in the center with a seam. So I've got some color blocking happening there, and even more so with this one. So I've cut 4 panels, and I'll show you how to do that. But first I'm going to show you how to do it in 2 pieces. And if the top of this hat looks familiar, it's the same as our 4-point fleece beanie hat pattern that we had on the channel last year. But in our 4-point fleece beanie, we used 2 layers of fleece all the way up to the top, so that when you turn up the cuff, you have 4 cozy layers covering your ears. So I'll leave a link for that below in the description. And you can finish this one off with just your sewing machine, or you can finish where they join, the 2 pieces join, with a nice serge, as I have with this one. So we're going to use this band pattern for the next 2 hats after this. So for the next 3 hat videos, we'll use the same band pattern for the part that goes around your head. And I'm just laying out my pieces there so you can see roughly how it's going to look. Solid on the bottom, hearts on the top, and I'm just going to cut some little pieces of hair with this off cut of my orange fleece fabric. And I'm just cutting 3 narrow strips that I will loop to make my hair. And you can do this however you'd like. You could even make a little fleece pom-pom for the top of the hat where all those 4 points meet in the center. You can see how to do that on our channel. I'll put a link below there. I show you how to make a fleece pom-pom in the kids pom-pom hat pattern. And I'm just going to sew those 3 pieces of fleece together, those little strips, and I cut them so that they weren't on the stretchy direction, but you can cut them in any direction. They're just meant to be decoration on the top. And I will sew it to the top of this piece, but first I'm going to sew with the right sides together the back seam. And since I'm using a single layer for the top and a single layer for the band, I just have 1 back seam for both pieces. I'm going to trim a little bit though off of the depth of my top piece. So I cut them both exactly the same. They're both 6.5 inches deep or 17.5 centimeters deep. And I'm just going to take about 1/2 inch off of the bottom or the top. But this is the bottom because you can see from the direction that my hearts are going. So that would be about 1.25 centimeters off the bottom, or 2 centimeters off the bottom, just so that the top of the hat comes a little bit closer to the top of my head. If you like a baggie or toque, then by all means leave those pieces exactly the same, and you'll get a little bit of air between the top of your hair and the top of the hat. And now I'm just going to clip the right sides together for the piece that's going to be my band, the solid black piece. and I'm going to get ready to sew those back seams, and I'll use my regular seam width of 3/8 of an inch or 1 centimeter and my magnetic seam guide to help me make a perfect seam here. So my right sides are together. I'm sewing up both of those back seams, and then I'm going to do what I usually do, and that's just flatten them with a top stitch, a double top stitch. So I'll open up the seam on the wrong side, and from working from the top side or the right side, I'm just going to sew that seam open flat underneath, creating a nice little double top stitch on the outside and also a nice flat seam on the inside. And I'm going to do that for both pieces, both the top piece and the piece that's going to be my band, the solid black piece. And you can see how I do that there and how it should look. And there's how it looks on the inside. So now that our back seam is all sewn and nicely top stitched, I'm going to fold at that seam and create a center front directly opposite on the other side, on the other fold. And I will cut a notch, a shallow notch, just to mark the spot at the top and the bottom. And then I'm going to bring the notch from the center to the center of the back seam and create 2 folds on the side and cut 2 small notches on each side fold as well. So I have a center front and 2 center sides cut with small notches, and that's going to help me ease the pieces in together, and at the top it's going to help me create our points. And on the right side I'm putting my little tufted hair and centering on that front notch, and the other 2 notches that I cut are the center side notches. And now I'm just going to do the same thing on my band piece that I did by flattening that seam, opening it up and top stitching, going up one side of the seam just about the width of my presser foot on the left side, the side away from my needle, and then I'll pivot at the top and come back down the other side using my presser foot as a guide. But I'm still catching that raw edge of the seam underneath, and there you can see what I've done. And now at this point I'm going to fold this piece in half. The cuff or the band of my hat is 2 layers, but the 2 layers are created by folding that single layer in half along that long edge that's going to wrap around our head. And I'll just do an edge stitch just to sew those 2 raw edges together. So I have a folded edge on one side and a raw edge on the other, and I'm just going to mark notches for the center front and the 2 center sides in this piece as well. And that will help me ease the 2 pieces together when it comes time to join the pieces together and finish creating my hat. So I have my band or my cuff all ready to go, and now we'll do the magic for the top piece and make those 4 points. So starting at the back seam, with my right hand on the back seam and the right sides together, I'm just going to work around the hat, and I'm going to take that first notch on the left side that I would come to, so that's a side notch, and I'm going to match it up with the center back seam and pin it in place. And then using my regular seam width of 3/8 of an inch or 1 centimeter, I'm going to start at that folded outside edge, which would be an edge of a point, and sew towards the center, just stopping right at the center of that back seam. And now I'll show you, I have one of those points made, and I'm just going to work around the hat. Working around the hat, I'm going to bring the center front now, where my little tufts of hair have been sewn on, and I'll match it up to that point where the back seam and that side seam already created my first little point. And that part on the right is still open. So we're going to just put a pin there to hold all of those notches and the seam points together. And again, I'm going to start at the folded edge, the folded outside edge of a point, and I'm going to sew towards the center, just stopping short of the center, getting as close as I can, but not over sewing, and closing up that top raw edge in another quarter of my hat. And now I'm going to do the next point. And again, working around, I'm going to take that loose notch and bring it into the cluster of notches now that is forming in the center of my hat. I've made another fold. I still have one that's open, so I'm going to close this one This is number 3, and doing the same thing, starting at the folded outside edge and working into the center and sewing through those 2 layers, the 2 raw edges at the top of the hat, and creating a closed folded point. And now I'll finish up by doing the last one. And you know the routine now, so we'll just finish up this last one, start at that outside edge and sew towards the center. And now what I'm going to do is just check to make sure that all of my top folds are closed. And I'll just trim at the corner, trim away some of that extra fabric that's at the corner of each point, so that when I turn it right side out, I have a nice point. Now, if you wanted to, you could buy little pom-poms and just put them on those points with some hot glue. That would look really cute too. Or you could make little mini pom-poms to put on each point. I've just put the tuft of hair in the center. And now I've just got the right sides together for my band. And I'm going to go around and match up those notches. So there's 2 side notches that I'll match up together. And this is just going to help me ease it in as I work my way around and sew those 2 pieces together to finish my hat. And this is such an easy hat to make. It's a great hat to make if you're a beginning sewer. You will love the results. You will not get discouraged. You'll be a happy sewer. And what is better in the winter than doing some sewing and being a happy sewer and making hats for your friends and family that will bring a smile to their face? And I just used my regular 3/8 of an inch or 1 centimeter seam width to sew those 2 pieces together. Right sides were together, and I turn it right side out and just check my work and see if I'm happy with the way that it turned out, and I am. I will add my Madcap label, and just like that, now I have a brand new hat. I will add in the description some suggestions for your pattern pieces for smaller or bigger heads, but there's me rocking out in my new hat. So now I'm going to show you how to do that color blocking for the top of the hat. Now, if you were doing 2 pieces, you'd cut in the center and just sew 2 pieces together, but I'll show you 4 pieces. It's the same thing. It's just we're going to just alternate the colors. I'm going to use orange and green and blue, something bright and fun for winter. The blue will be my band or my cuff. So I'm just going to fold it up with the right sides on the outside, and I'll just build my hat here on my cutting table. So I've cut my piece in half, and then I'll take that piece and cut it into quarters. Now, if you're going to do this, you could cut the piece for the top a little bit longer than your head circumference, but it's stretchy fabric and it is the top of the hat. So what I'm just going to do is I'll forego that top stitching, and I'll just edge stitch those 4 panels together, and I'll alternate them. So I've got a green one, then an orange one, then a green one, then an orange one. And I'm just sewing them together along that seam that is the depth. And I'm just going to finish up with my last orange panel, and I'll have my top piece, and I'll just do the back seam. And I'm just going to do an edge stitch here as well. So I'll use the bottom edges and the top edges of my seams to, instead of notching. So I have natural notches now that I've created by doing a 4-panel top. And again, I'll just pick one that's going to be the back. And I'm just going to start making those 4 points by bringing the 2 edges of each color in to meet at the center. I have a fold now, and I'll just sew towards the middle of the hat, and I'll just go around the same way I did with my single color piece, doing it on each of the 4 pieces so that I end up with the 4 points. And you can have fun with this. You can skew these pieces if you wanted to add the notch so that each one of your points has half of each color. I'm just using the seams as my guide. I suggest for the first one that you try like this, you do the same because it makes it super easy. You're just using the seams. You're bringing in one seam to meet the seam right beside it as you work your way around the hat. You've got this now, though. It's easy, right? And it's oh so fun. Well, everyone, if you have any questions, leave them below and don't forget to comment because you'll be entered into the contest for the Cricut Easy Press Mini. So thank you so much to our patrons, our channel members for supporting this channel. We couldn't do it without you. And everyone, if you haven't subscribed, please do. We would appreciate it. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram as well. We're Madcap Hats there too. So we will be back soon with the next in our fun hat series. The Jester hat made us a lot of money back in the day. I'm Tori Capes. Thank you so much for watching. See you soon. Bye.